Tell me how the Van Dyke Show came about for you.
I've known Danny Thomas and Sheldon Leonard practically all my life. I opened for Danny Thomas at the Martinique when he was a big star in Chicago, and he was the great white hope of comedy for that year. And I opened for him at the Martinique in New York, and we became very good friends. His wife's name was Rosemarie, too, same thing. And he came into the club one night, just like in a fog, and I said, "What's the matter, Danny? Anything wrong?" He says, "I just did a benefit." I said, "You did a benefit? You're all hocked up about a benefit?" He says, "It was at the Winter Garden." He says, "The Winter Garden?" He says, I bent down and I kissed the stage. I said, "I hope you never change. That's a wonderful thing, you know." So they would come to see me in Vegas, Sheldon and his wife, Danny and his wife. And then I'd go over to the table after the show and I'd say, "How'd you like it?" And Sheldon said, "Don't you ever bomb? Don't you ever die on stage?" I said, "Not if I can help it." I said, "When am I going to do your show, Danny? You're doing Make Room for Daddy. You give everybody a guest shot. You don't give me a guest shot." "Your time will come. Don't worry. Your time will come." "Yeah, sure." He'd call me for benefits. He'd call me for this. And I would do them all. "When am I going to do your show?" You know. So I get a call one day, and the voice says, "They want you over at the Desilu, see Danny Thomas." I said, "God, I got the guest shot." She says, "No, this is for a new show called the Dick Van Dyke Show." I said, "What's a Dick Van Dyke?" She said, "Just go over there." So I go over there and I meet Carl Reiner. And Sheldon said, "If you want the best, there she is," which was thrilling for me. And Carl said, "I heard you were just wonderful." I said, "I hope so." They gave me a script. Sheldon said, "You don't have to read. You got the part." I said, "Who's playing the third part? The third day?" "Right. We haven't found them yet." I said, "What about Maury Amsterdam?" I said, "He was a writer. He used to write for Fanny Bryce and Fred Allen and people like that." I said, "He does comedy now." I said, he knows every joke. He's a writer. You know, where is he? He lives in Yonkers, New York. Here's his phone number. We're very close. I've known Maury since I was 9 years old, you know. I've known everybody since I was 8, 9 years old, you know. So I came home and I called him up. I said, "They're going to call you about a new show called the Dick Van Dyke Show." He says, "What's a Dick Van Dyke?" I said, "You come out here. It's a new show.